Hey folks, every summer it's hard to decide what kind of vacation do you want to take. Do you want a relaxing natural getaway or do you want a new cultural artistic experience? Luckily this summer you don't have to choose. The Williamstown Theater Festival runs July 17th to August 3rd among the beautiful Berkshire Mountains in northwestern Massachusetts. It brings over 130 artists to the stage for nearly 100 performances. Discounted hotel rooms are available now. Go to WTFestival.org and immerse yourself in theater this summer. That's WTFestival.org.
Today on CityCast DC. For the first and only time in history, WorldPride, the largest global LGBTQ plus celebration, is in DC. And it's the 50th anniversary of Capitol Pride. It's a pretty big deal, with folks coming from all over the world to celebrate with big-name concerts and events right here. The festivities start this weekend, with the headline events from May 28th to June 8th. But in this political climate, Pride is sadly a little bit fraught. So the Washington Blade's Joe Reberkenny is here to fill me in. From heightened travel concerns for trans visitors to increased security citywide, here's what you need to know about WorldPride in DC. Today's Wednesday, May 14th. I'm Bridget Todd, and here's what DC is talking about. Joe, thanks for being here. I know that WorldPride is happening in DC this year. For folks who might be unfamiliar with it, how big of a deal is it that DC is hosting WorldPride?
DC hosting WorldPride is huge. A few years ago, New York City hosted it for the 50th anniversary of Stonewall, and they got upwards of 5 million people visiting the island of Manhattan. And while we're expecting a big crowd, not that big, we're anticipating in between 1 and 2 million people to be visiting DC. So it's huge. It's to say the least. We are anticipating a lot of queer people to be coming here to celebrate, and yeah, just to be their queer selves.
Yeah, I mean, it is a little bittersweet. I'm super excited that my hometown is hosting this very important event that is so important for the community. But let's be real, it is also a particularly tricky political and social climate in DC. There is this culture of fear, I think, that a lot of LGBTQ folks are feeling just generally, given the Trump administration's behavior and stances around, our community. So I guess I just want to start there. What, from your perspective, has the vibe been around that?
Yeah. So when I've talked to people, both bar owners, people participating in both official and non-official WorldPride events, and just friends and people out and about in the queer spaces of the city, there is an overwhelming sense of potential fear. I won't say that people are being stopped from, taking advantage of the things that are going on, but there is an underlying fear of, oh no, what happens if everything gets taken away? As we've seen with some of the other policies that Trump has initiated, there seems to be, a bias against the LGBTQ community to some degree. And people are fearful that that's going to impact how the city is able to put on these events. And this has been a long time planned. So a lot of emotions for a lot of people in the city. Yeah.
How are organizers preparing for all of that?
So the Capitol Pride, which is hosting WorldPride this year, that's the DC's official Pride group, they have done a bunch of things, one of which is they will be exercising the entire MPD force during that weekend for covering official events down at the mall, down on Pennsylvania Avenue, Avenue of America. They've got a bunch of police officers, uniformed police officers, and there should be a few non-uniformed police officers out covering and supposed to be protecting the community. That does leave some space and some, not inconsistencies, but definitely some gaps in some potential security safety coverage for some of these spaces that aren't official designated WorldPride events, like our gay bars in the city, like some of these spaces that a lot of queer people will be going to dance and to celebrate that aren't necessarily on the official and, roadmap, per se, I guess, that WorldPride has put out.
And correct me if I'm wrong, I feel like I heard a little bit of hesitancy in your voice there, and maybe it is a complicated thing to wrestle with of the idea of cops at Pride, but also we're in this climate where queer people experiencing joy and like gathering together, I hate to say it, it does make folks a target. And so like it's like this weird thing where I want people to go out and be able to experience the joy of celebrating, you know, fullness and queerness and queer identity. I want those people to be able to do that safely. I guess that means police, but I think there's like a weird tension there, no?
Oh, definitely. Well, it's important to remember that the first Pride was a riot against unjust police coming into queer bars. And so that history has never been erased from the history of Pride in general. And so there's always been, I won't say animosity, but definitely a heightened emotion, definitely for sure, in between the queer community and police. So I guess it kind of inherently comes with the space and the history of being queer. There's definitely some conflicting opinions. I've talked to some people who are very pro having police officers in uniform at the front of bars, you know, very clearly labeled to show like, we've got a police officer here, stay back. But then I've also heard from people who have made it very clear that they don't feel comfortable with somebody, one, carrying a gun in the public, and two, being a police officer in a queer space that's supposed to be a sanctity from a bunch of things.
If you've never visited the Folger Shakespeare Theater, now is the time. It's showing the Shakespearean classic Twelfth Night, but with a groundbreaking modern twist that brings pure joy. This is not the Shakespeare that you fell asleep reading in 10th grade. It is a contemporary, sexy production of Shakespeare's great comedy. Sure, there's loss, love, and identity, but there's also a sense of discovery, lavish costumes, and great modern music. The director used the term elegant kink while describing it to me, so you already know you're in for a ride. Think She's the Man meets RuPaul's Drag Race. Performances start on May 13th and run through June 22nd. And tickets are going fast. Don't wait. Go to folger.edu/12th night to purchase tickets. That's folger.edu/1, 2, night.
Hi, I'm David Plotz, the CEO of CityCast. We've all set health goals: lose weight, exercise more, eat better. But without a plan, those goals often fade. That may have happened to you. It has definitely happened to me. And that's where Prolon comes in. Prolon's 5-day fasting mimicking diet gives you a science-backed, structured approach to stay on track and see real results. And now Prolon is upping their game with the new next-gen 5-day program, delivering the same science-backed benefits in a cleaner, more convenient, and more flavorful format. Prolon is a plant-based nutrition program featuring soups, snacks, and beverages designed to nourish the body while keeping it in a fasting state, triggering cellular rejuvenation and renewal. NextGen builds on the original Prolon with 100% organic soups and teas, a richer taste, and ready-to-eat meals. Developed over decades at USC's Longevity Institute and backed by top U.S. medical centers, Prolon has been shown to support biological age reduction, metabolic health, skin appearance, fat loss, and energy. I've been doing the 5-day program, and I feel so much better. I really enjoy the tasty energy bars, the snacks and soups, and the fact that I can enjoy meals, even though the calorie count is super low. The flavors and textures are excellent. An olive oil snack here, broccoli and quinoa soup there, hibiscus tea, a yummy nut bar. It's got the benefits of a 5-day fast, but doesn't have the challenge of doing it with pure liquids. It's a system reset. And also, I know this sounds funny, but it's not. The packaging and directions are fantastic, clear, and well organized and thoughtful. For a limited time, you can be first in line to experience the new Next Gen at special savings. Prolon is offering CityCast listeners 15% off site-wide, plus a $40 bonus gift when you subscribe to their 5-day program. Just visit prolonlife.com/city. That's PROLONLIFE.com/city to claim your 15% discount and your bonus gift. prolonlife.com/city. This episode of CityCast is sponsored by Babbel. Learning a new language opens the door to new friends, new cultures, maybe even a whole new life. So why not start the journey today with Babbel? You can start speaking a new language with confidence thanks to Babbel's conversation-based technique. It quickly teaches you useful words and phrases about the things you actually talk about in the real world. There are more than a dozen languages available for you to learn at your own pace, with material tailored to your individual proficiency level, interests, and time availability. I'm David Plotz, CEO of CityCast, And I've been learning Spanish with Babbel and brushing up a teeny bit on my French. But there's also Turkish, Swedish, Dutch, German, many more languages. Babbel's tips and tools for learning a new language are approachable and accessible. It's like having a private tutor in your pocket. I particularly love Babbel's guided conversations, which let me practice real-world conversations. What to say at the doctor's office, how to leave a party, using speech recognition to make sure I'm getting the pronunciation right. Babbel's mobile app and website have real-time feedback, progress trackers, and clear visualizations. They're helping me improve my Spanish in only 10 minutes a day. So get talking with Babbel. I want you to learn another language, so I'm teaming up with Babbel to gift you 55% off subscriptions, but only for CityCast listeners at babbel.com/CityCast. Get up to 55% off at babbel.com/CityCast. Spelled BABBEL.com/CityCast. Babbel.com/CityCast. Rules and restrictions may apply.
Given all this, do you expect WorldPride to be potentially bigger because people really need that space to experience joy and, like, you know, be their full selves? Or do you think that it's going to be maybe smaller because of the, like, tensions and fears that we've just been talking about?
I don't know for sure. Based on the people that I've talked to and the vibe I've gotten, there is a considerate amount of people who are fearful of whether it be a small, like a potential targeting of a space or an event. But I don't know necessarily how that's transferring into numbers of people coming. I have read online a few people who have canceled trips, who were international visitors, specifically those from the trans community, as some of the laws in the country and the rhetoric pushed by the president is targeting towards them. I can't say for certain, but I've also heard people who are saying that they want to come out in full force and they want to make this pride another pride of resistance, and they want to be loud and more vocal than ever before, because this is the first time we've hosted WorldPride in DC, and it's kind of amazing. Whether it be amazing good or amazing bad, you know, that's up for us to see and to decide as it happens. But to be able to effectively protest all of these anti-LGBTQ rhetorics and laws that have been supported by the president and the Republican Party in DC while hosting the biggest Pride of the year could be an opportunity for a lot of people to come. So there's a little bit of both there.
Yeah, and sort of in that same vein, I mean, a lot of the Pride celebrations I've been to all over the country, it's always funny seeing, like, corporate sponsors. It's like, oh, you know, Wells Fargo cares about the queer community. But I do know that this year, corporate sponsors are dropping out of backing the celebration because of all the pressure. How has that been affecting this month of celebrations?
Yeah, it definitely has. DC had a very robust amount of corporations who would participate in WorldPride. We'd have people from, you know, Lockheed Martin all the way to Delta Airlines. There was a bunch of corporate sponsors, at least I can remember from last year's Pride and the year before and the year before. But yeah, definitely some of these corporate sponsors are pulling back. I would like to point out that these corporations that are sticking with us now amid all of this uncertainty and negative rhetoric for the community, I feel that these are the companies that will be standing by the queer community. I don't know if I answered your question.
No, you did. And I think you really even did me one better, because I think it gets at, again, like a weird tension of corporations. Some of these corporations, I would argue, like, do they really have a place at Pride? But they have been there. And the fact that some of them, the second the heat is on, pull out, I do think it demonstrates whether or not they were ever genuinely committed to uplifting the community. I would argue probably the answer is no there. But the ones who do stick it out, even when there's pressure, even when the heat is on, I don't know. I think they can tell us something through their actions about how they really show up for this community.
Yeah, I totally agree. Putting not only your money where your mouth is, but putting your support, putting your people by hosting and by providing spaces for their queer employees to rally and to get behind the idea of Pride in general, and accepting love is something that I feel as a queer journalist isn't necessarily something that's super radical, but there are, as we've seen, a lot of companies that do feel that's not something they want to get behind. So yeah, making sure that we stick to companies and people who want the best for our community seems to be a focus for this World Pride and prides all across the country, from what I'm hearing as well.
How have like local business leaders been preparing for what I imagine is going to be like an influx of people coming into the city?
So it varies based on what kind of businesses we're talking about. I've talked to a few hotel owners who are specifically prepping spaces and just being aware that this is happening. An estimated, even lower estimates of 1 million people, that is still a big strain on the city's services and the functionality of the city. So just being aware seems to be the first thing. Hotels, I know there's a few. Hilton, I believe, is the official sponsor of Capital World Pride, and they've got a few specific room blocks off for World Pride visitors in general. But there are some smaller boutique hotels, like the Eaton Hotel in downtown DC, that I just did a story on, where they have themed a room specifically for Pride. So there's little things you can find everywhere that is trying to bring the theme and spirit of Pride alive in the city.
I love that. Eaton is like, if there's an event celebrating a marginalized community, I always am like, oh, Eaton's on it, always.
Yes, I got to tour it, 2 weeks ago, a week ago. Fantastic, super cute room. There's affirmations all over the mirrors and everything. There's a bunch of really fantastic queer vinyl that they have, like both queer in terms of the artist performing and like the cultural recognition of stuff. And it's just a beautiful hotel. And so, yeah, that's one of the highlights I can mention, yeah.
Well, we've been talking on the podcast a lot about DC budget stuff, and I'm wondering, is MPD going to be able to accommodate things like extra security requests given the state of DC's local budget and economy?
That's a very good question. Funding for DC, as I'm sure some of your listeners know, is determined by Congress. Not all of the money that we have here is free for us to kind of use as we see fit in the district. So there is a lot of dependence on what budgets get passed in the federal government. That being said, there is enough wiggle room where MPD can get what they need to done. And I was able to speak to an MPD rep, and they sent me a press release-esque kind of statement on World Pride in general. They said that they're working closely with local, state, and federal partners, both police and organizers, for World Pride in 2025, and that it's their priority to ensure safety and security for district residents and visitors for this event.
I am super excited that DC is hosting such an important global event, but it is a global event. And so I've been reading so much about some of the ways that our trans siblings are being, threatened, specifically folks who are trying to enter the United States or leave the United States. I've even read that organizers of this event have made that clear. Like, listen, we are so excited. We want you to come, but you should be thinking about your safety and your travel logistics in a different way, given the way that this administration has specifically targeted and threatened the trans community. Do you have any sense of how organizers are giving guidance around trans folks who might be interested in coming to DC for this event?
Yeah, so it's very clear that the World Pride organizers and Capital Pride, they want the entire LGBTQ community to feel safe and welcome in DC and anywhere we're celebrating Pride. And Ryan Bose, the executive director for the Capital Pride Alliance, was talking to WTOP and did mention that he unfortunately thinks there might be a time when they might need to issue a statement to let trans people know that it might not be the safest spot for them, given the administration and the hostile environment created towards trans people. But that being said, the trans community specifically in this city is resilient and strong. And I can't say that I've witnessed firsthand any fears or, disheartened activity or energy from my trans community members, but it is out there and it does exist.
Well, let's get to some of the fun stuff. What kinds of events are going to be happening at this celebration?
Oh, there's so many fantastic things happening. I am extremely excited for the concert on Sunday. We've got a fantastic lineup of people. Cynthia Erivo is supposed to be headlining. Doechii is supposed to be headlining.
Yes, very excited about Doechii.
Oh, me too. I'm hoping I get to see her perform, if not talk to her for a story or two. As a former Tampa girl, I oh, I love her and I can't get enough of her music. She's fantastic, yeah.
Yes, if Doechii happens to be listening, let's make sure that you speak to Joe while you're in DC.
Please, please. Alligator Bites Never Heal, but I like that's probably my favorite album of the year, and I'm so excited to have her in our capital and to be such a fantastic up and coming queer icon who's doing such brilliant and beautiful work. Oh, I'm so excited.
Do you have any tips for folks who might be attending on how they can make the most of this like historic event happening in DC?
Yes. First, I would go and check out the official list of WorldPride events that are happening on their website and find the things that you really want to be doing, whether it be going to that concert, to watch Doechii perform, or going to a dance party. There's a bunch of them all over the city. Or there's a few food events. There's a giant street festival. There are so many things. I think the greatest way to start is to look at it one by one, like just look at the official events first and mark down what you're interested in doing. And then working outwards almost, look at some of the queer spaces that interest you online, whether it be social media presence or word of mouth, people talking about events that are happening, then kind of expand out and say, all right, that party looks interesting. Oh, I want to go to this drag event at this bar or trivia night. There are just so many things happening that like make sure to look at everything, I guess, is my advice.
Those are great tips. Like plan ahead. They're so like literally every time they drop a new person performing, I'm like, oh, I want to see that. Oh, I want to see that. Oh, I want to see that. So definitely it's a plan ahead situation, I think. Totally
plan ahead. And also remember this is supposed to be a celebration. So if you don't get to do every single thing, which even, somebody with the press pass who's trying to do every single thing, I don't think it's going to be possible. Give yourself grace and try to enjoy the moment as much as you can. And yeah, just celebrate queerness and queer joy and queer resilience.
Joe, thank you so much for being here. It's been a real joy talking to you.
Thank you. Thank you so much for talking to me. I love Pride. I love my queer community. And I'm so grateful that you let me speak to you. Thank you.
And also thanks to all of our new neighbors, Ellen B., Joseph P., Sarah F., Adam K. And if you want to hear your name on this list, join the CityCast DC neighborhood at membership.citycast.fm. That's all for today here on CityCast DC. If you enjoyed the show, make sure that you tell Doechii that she needs to say hey to us when she's here for WorldPride. We'll be back tomorrow morning with even more news from around the city. Talk to you then.